Hi, my name's Jonathan Herbst, founder and CEO of Scale Up Growth Partners. Welcome again to our Stories of Scaling Up, a series where we'll be chatting with owners, managing directors, founders, and business leaders of scaling companies. It centers around their entrepreneurial journey so far and their aspirations for the companies and what we can learn from them. Today, we're speaking with Sissel Rosengren. I hope I've got the pronunciation right there, Sissel, who's managing director of the Food Industry Foresight group. So welcome to Stories of Scaling Up.
Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Great. So listen, tell me, what does Food Industry Foresight do, and what do you do with the company?
Yes, unfortunately, I don't think I've never had an elevator pitch that can sum it up, but I will try to sum it up. Basically, what we do is we deliver market size data, as well as market insights and market forecasting, particularly focusing on the food service market here in Australia and 23 other markets around the world. Oh. And it started more than 30 years ago because to deliver actually data on the procurement of food and non-alcoholic beverages and beverages by food service operators, i.e. the food service market, as opposed to the retail market, you will never have the equivalent of scan data as you get on the retail market. So, long story, we are data modelers, we are economists, we are statisticians and mathematicians, so that we approach market research, if you want to call it that, or what we say, data collection, and we can model that up. We can tell our clients, both in syndicated studies as well as private studies, the size of the market, the opportunities by different channels, different submarkets, etc. In addition, we are Food Industry Foresight, not food service, because we have the capability and we do large supply and demand studies around the world. And also, we have another arm to our business which marries very well with data, and that is the future of food, the future of food service, where we cooperate with one of the world's well-known futurists, and we have a futurist within our company, basically guiding our clients through what will be the impacts. It's not blue sky stuff. It's really what's happening and what's coming and what are the consequences. And, of course, that kind of futurism also needs to be backed up by data. So that's the long pitch about who we are.
So who would you describe as your core customer, your best customer?
Our core customers and core customer group is actually the food and beverage suppliers, and that is manufacturers and naturally importers too, but first and foremost, food and beverage manufacturers. And our clients have included over the years all the large global suppliers like Nestlé, Unilever, the ones you know very well, Simplot, but also large and smaller national food and beverage suppliers, manufacturers in 24, 25 countries where we have operated. Great.
And I mean, how, wrong terminology, I was going to say hello. The fellow I was talking to last week, as an example, imports frozen and dry food from Mauritius, as an example. But he would probably, it's a small company. I mean, where's the cutoff of the people, the clients that you would work with, do you think?
There isn't really a cutoff, to put it that way. It all depends. Naturally, it's about telling them where the market opportunities are outside the retail market, right?
Yep.
We understand the retail market. There is a third market, consumer market, which is your convenience market.
Yep.
But, and it's about highlighting the importance and not highlighting, but telling them the importance of the food service market. And, I could talk to you for days about how the global food service market and every food service market is actually growing while the retail market is in decline or at best stagnant, set aside global financial crisis, set aside COVID, etc. So we have traditionally tended to have the larger global companies and as well as the national companies because data and research costs.
Mm-hmm.
But we have also over the last decade, changed our product offering and our subscription offering and more down to bite size.
Okay. No,
kind of reports, actually, to differentiate your data, your information, and what you're delivering. It is quite a tricky industry from the point of view protecting your IP, etc. But, in any industry has its challenges naturally.
Okay. No, thank you. So listen, we've all sort of coming out of COVID, let's put it that way. What actions did you take during COVID for your company that has stuck with you and that will remain part of your business going forward?
Yes. Basically, we were in a situation where, of course, you don't need us to tell you that the market is awful and disappeared during a time like these unprecedented times that we've had now for the last 2 years. So we actually survived, if we can put it that way, on JobKeeper.
Mm-hmm.
We also continued some private tracking research, and we also continued, projects that we have year on year with our clients. But what we largely stopped was the syndicated work.
Okay.
So because we call it Australian Food Service, and it's a syndicated continuous information service, if you like, where we deliver reports at different times during the year. That, of course, stopped. What the main thing that we did, which we believe was important to us and important to the industry and the market, was the fact that naturally focus went back on Australia and New Zealand in what we did. But we actually kept researching the market right through 2020 and 2021. 2021, we started to return to some of the normal syndicated work, etc. But in 2020, we kept our interviews because we collect the data and we analyze the data. We're not a field agency. Our interviews, our field force works for us and no one else. And that is because of accuracy of data, speed, and cost. So we kept our field force, and basically 5 days a week, right through 2020, until from when we went down into lockdown in 23rd of March, we kept researching the market. So we then went back to our client base and anyone else with free, what we called COVID-19 food service bulletins, which we actually fed back all this data and research. So we could actually accurately tell clients and telling the market what was happening. What was the permanent closures, temporary closures? What did the operators do? What were the challenges for their client base, i.e. the food service operators buying their food and beverages in terms of distribution, etc. And of course, we also came out with, in July, we came out with market outlook. I can't call it forecasts because, no economist could forecast in that environment, but we did a full rundown on the current climate and economy, etc.
Yeah.
So, because as you know, hospitality industry was the hardest hit industry together with accommodation and the arts, but basically the food service operators, the restaurant, cafes, etc., and also on the institutional side were the hardest hit. So by doing that, I believe that our client base here in Australia and New Zealand really saw how we were supporting them. And we were basically the only voice for that industry when it came to telling them what the market was happening. Because as you know, with media, you know, it's always exaggerated and it's always, you know, it's the journalist's jobs. But, you know, it wasn't the reality of a lot that was happening out there. Okay. Another thing that I did at the same time is that I took the initiative to start a new Foodservice Industry Association, or I started the discussions with my co-founder and basically saw that, and that has been the case always, that in terms of the food service market, there is no association speaking for that market as such. On the retail side, you have Australian Food and Grocery Council, and, you know, they speak for the retail side of the food industry, but there's no one voice for the food service market. What came out of that period was that we launched a new association for the industry and for the whole supply chain in the food service market. So that goes from producers to manufacturers, distributors, operators, and service providers. And that was launched basically in March 2021. Okay. So I guess that was the main thing, and things that we did in terms of in terms of our business in that way.
Right. Thank you. So, what does the future look like, and what do you see as your main challenges going forward?
The future is exciting. It's always exciting, if you put it that way. But there will always be main challenges. I mean, if I just talk from a company point of view, we're now seeing a slow return to business as usual and growth. But it's been slow. It's been very slow in the first half of 2022. The market itself is roaring back at the moment. The market itself has its challenges and all of that, like it always has. But our clients are returning, wanting data and insights again, but slowly, because they are putting out fires everywhere at the moment. And, you know, we could talk a long time about that. But basically, there are returning costs, there are enormous supply chain issues, etc. So at the moment, return to normal for us is slow, but that's what it is. So we are just, we know that it'll come back, and we do believe we have the right product mix, if I can put it that way. Yeah. Naturally, that is always under review. So as you go forward, naturally, every single month you are, or as you're working, you naturally review that product mix or your offering to the market.
Okay, thank you. So tell me, you've been a business owner for a long time. What do you reckon has been the biggest learning that you've had as a business owner?
That in many ways it's the cash flow that keeps you awake at night. I haven't been a business owner as long as you think, because we only purchased this company back in end of 2014, 2015. Yep. But it came out of a company called BIS Shrapnel, which I don't know.
Okay. Of course,
remember. Yep. And I was with BIS Shrapnel from 1988. But I was equally as much overseas as I was here in Australia. And then back in 2006, 2007, I came back to Sydney again for the fourth time. And I then developed that business unit within BIS Shrapnel, which was called BIS Food Service.
Okay.
And then my husband and I purchased that business unit, and we went out at the end of 2014. So, and it was a challenging time, because 2 months after I went out, or we went out as Food Industry Foresight, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And, but I'm a person, you just never give up. and you keep going. And we were a small company, but we had a very good dedicated team around you. And I suppose that's one of the big learnings which I've always believed, you need good staff around you. You need staff that can challenge you. You need to give staff room to expand and operate on their own, if I can put it that way. I'm a person, my door is always open, but if I believe you can do the job, I'll give you the long leash. And I think that's what staff will thrives on. Of course, there has been issues in terms of staff, and there are staff that you have to depart with at times.
Mm-hmm.
And other times, I love bringing up people who has the potential, but not necessarily the right papers.
So that's, yeah, thank you. That's one learning. You gave me 4 fabulous ones. Cash. If you don't have cash, you can't grow, and growth sucks cash. Persistence.
That's right.
Having the right team and motivating the right team. They're 4 great lessons. Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent.
That's good.
So I'm going to ask the words, if you think about the word successful, who's the first person that pops to mind and why?
Madeleine Albright.
Why?
There are so many that can pop into your mind, of course, but and I don't think I've been asked that question before, quite like that.
It's one of my favourite questions.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Because she was a powerhouse, and we lost her not long ago. But why do you think? Why successful?
I think she was successful for how. I read her Pulitzer Prize winning book, Madame Secretary, of course. Yep. And when I read her life and her work and how she approached, and it was again back to this thing about persistence. It was this thing about combining family and work and being successful. And I am one that believed that if what she did was that she had a family, but she also was wanting to use her head and mind and all her abilities. And she was successful in what she set out to achieve. And she did it by combining both. And, one thing that she said I can't remember, but I don't know if it was when she did her PhD or whatever, she would get up at 5 a.m. in the morning because it was quiet for 2 hours, and then the children came and everything, and the normal day started. And it was, I suppose, the approach to work and success and combining, because you hear plenty enough people saying there, you can't have both. You can't both have family and children and do a good job, to put it that way, and being successful in work. And that's totally balderdash, in my opinion. But take myself, we're a family that has moved around the world, lived in Southeast Asia, London, Stockholm, Oslo, 4 times here. And we've done it with 2 children, and who are grown up now, of course, so it was partly a choice. It was partly my husband's work that led us to these different countries, but it was very much a choice to do that. And our oldest daughter went to 4 different high schools in 4 different continents, and both our children have been very successful. The point is that at that time, I then had my husband who was traveling all the time, and I had very interesting work for BIS Shrapnel. I developed European markets, Southeast Asian markets, etc. But I always knew that I could be even further in my career if I'd chosen to, but I wanted to be there for our girls it wasn't the fact that my husband wasn't there for the girls, but I wanted to be that person there. And, changing schools and all of that. So you decide yourself what should be your aim. So when we then came back to Australia in 2006, I knew then I still had a child in school and so on, but I knew that I was at a different stage in terms of my career and what I wanted. But I live by 4 main principles, if you like, in terms of work. Number one, you're always learning. You always have to think outside the box. You always have to be on that journey and to be open. I'm not the best lateral thinker at all, but you can also learn to at least be a good one without being an exceptional one. I do believe that you have to put in the hard slog. I do believe that you have to put in the hours as long as it doesn't come without that. And but the most important part of all is the fact that you have to have passion for what you do. And that is what I'm saying to my staff and have always said, is that unless you have passion for what you do, then go and find another job, because passion drives everything. Passion drives the long hours. Passion drives the interest. Passion drives absolutely everything in that way. And if you have that passion, then of course there'll be lots of obstacles, but you know that what you're working with and for is fun, is interesting, it challenges you.
Fabulous. Sissel, that's been a great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed it. And like all of these, there's always a snippet that comes out that has challenged me or made me think. And Madam Secretary, I'm going to go, as soon as we get off this, I'm going to go and buy the book.
Do so. And another one is Catherine. I suffer from face blindness and therefore names don't stick with me. So, but she was the owner of Washington Post.
Yeah. They made a great movie out of that as well.
And they did make a great movie with Meryl Streep out of it. Yeah,
that's right.
The book is phenomenal. And that one Pulitzer Prize too, actually.
Great. I'll go and buy both those. I'm always looking for biographies of leaders.
Yeah, I love history, so I read a lot of them. But thank you very much, Jonathan. Pleasure to meet you.
I've loved the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.